Hello guys, welcome to another tutorial with Favy's Makeover. For this look, I'll be working on a dark skin model. So if you've ever had issues creating a flawless look on a dark skinned client or model, then this tutorial is for you. This is a full tutorial. I recorded from the beginning to the end, every step, and I left no stone unturned. So if I were you, I would sit tight and relax and watch this tutorial very closely. So I started by cleaning off my model's face. Then I went in with my hydrating spray from Blossom. Then I layered it up with the FBH hydrating essence. My primer, I used the Tehila Cosmetics blurring primer. Going in with my bronzer, or you can say contour, I used the Curve Case by Michelle for this. Take note of the areas that I'm applying this to, because these are the areas you apply your contour or your bronzer to uplift the face and make it appear longer. So I'm going into her nose area and every other place. Now I'm going to blend this in with my blending brush. If you notice, I try to fast forward the clips a little because it is plenty. Like I said, I recorded from the beginning to the end. So after doing that, I'm going to go in with my blush. The blush I'm using is still from the Curve Case by Michelle. This is a cream blush. I'm going to be using my beauty blender to apply it. For concealer, I use the Too Faced concealer and then use my beauty blender to apply it, to blend rather. I always try to make sure that I blend out my concealers very well because I don't like my under eyes being cakey or leaving creased marks. So after blending my concealer, I went in with my pressed powder to set the concealer under the eyes before setting the whole face, and then setting the whole area I highlighted, then using her shade of powder to set her whole face. Okay, so for her whole face, I used the Fenty Beauty powder in, I think, 480 for this. I used it on all over the face, the areas I did not highlight. Now for my contour or my bronzer, my powder bronzer, remember the first one I did was cream bronzer. So this is my powder bronzer. I'm using the White Glam Bronzy palette. I'm sorry I didn't show it, but I used the two darkest shades on the palette. Now I went in with my powdered blush just to set the blush I already applied, the cream blush I already applied. This blush I'm using, I've forgotten the brand name of the blush, but it's actually very pigmented. Next, I went in with my setting spray to set everything together before going in with my setting powder. Setting powder is from the newly launched collection of the Tehila Cosmetics. I'm using this setting powder from Tehila. I love the setting powder because it is very blurring and very easy to blend, like it sinks into the skin, which is one thing that I always look forward to in every setting powder I get. Now I'm going to apply it to every area that I highlighted. Next, I'm going to go in with this setting powder from Kaima Cosmetics. If you notice, this setting powder is lighter than the first one I applied. That is because after applying a darker shade of setting powder, you want to apply something lighter to throw more light on the face. And for the eyeshadow, I always create a base using my cream contour or bronzer. So the same cream contour I used, the Curve Case by Michelle, I took a dark shade from there and just applied on the lid. Next, I went in with my eyeshadow from FBH. I used the darkest shade of brown on the palette. Then you want to use a lighter shade of brown to just blend out the crease area so that the lid and the crease are in unison, if that makes any sense. Pigment base, I'm still going to apply another pigment on this. This is just to make the eyes pop. So when I apply the main pigment, it's going to like give it a layer. So So this is the main pigment I applied. This is from Kaima Cosmetics. Okay, now I'm going to go back in with my eyeshadow just to fade out the edges of the eye look. For my eyeliner, I'll be using the Tehila gel liner. I've been using this liner for a long time now, and I can say it's one of the best from a Nigerian brand. The shade is black and it's very, very pigmented. A little goes a long way. So I'm going to apply this on her lid and on her waterline. So for the lid, I used a liner brush for that. Then for the waterline, I used a bigger liner brush so that it doesn't get into her eyes. Now, next to my brows, I'm using my black eye pencil to outline the brows before filling it in with a brown pencil. Now, the reason why I'm using a black pencil is because she's very, very, very dark, and if I use a brown pencil, it might not show. Okay, so using a black pencil ensures that your outlines are more pronounced. So I'm just going to outline with the black pencil and then fill in with the brown pencil, and then maybe just touch it up with the black a little at the edge to make the brows pop more at the edge while having a more natural look in front. So the brown pencil I'm using is from Classic Cosmetics. This is, I think, their darkest pencil. I'm just going to use it to create natural strokes in the outer corners of the brows, while using the black for the ending parts of the brows. So while you're drawing, just be using your spoolie brush to spool and put the hairs in place. Okay. For my concealer, I use the same concealer I used to highlight. I don't really like going bright when I'm highlighting, so I used a concealer that is not too bright, so I can easily blend it out when I want to blend. So I'll be using this brush to blend out the concealer. After blending out the concealer, I always go in with a little setting powder to set the areas I highlighted. I do this because you don't want to leave any cream product without setting it, because it's going to start producing oil later. So for my lip, I went in with my brow gel to outline the lips, because the lip palette doesn't have a very dark shade. So after going in with my brow gel, I went in with a nude shade for the inner corners, then went in with my brush to blend everything together before going in with my gloss. Okay, so I went in with a transparent gloss for the inner corners, and then for the areas that are dark on her lips, I used a darker shade of gloss for that. So I'm just going to blend everything in together, making sure that it is well blended. That is that for the lips. Next, I'm going to set the whole face using her shade of powder. For that, I used the Fenty Beauty powder in shade 480, and then I'm going to use my blush just to bring back some warmth to the face. After applying my blush, I'm going to go in with a lighter shade of pressed powder to bring some light to the under eye. So now this is my highlighter, and I also applied it on the bridge of her nose. Next, I'm going to set the whole face using a setting spray before sealing it up with my sealing spray from FBH. So guys, this is the finished look. I know you learned something new from this video, so don't forget to like, comment and share this video. Bye. See you in my next video.